everything you've ever heard about Keith Moon is true, and you've only heard a tenth of it.
But, I miss him all the time. I mean, it's taken a lot of getting over that one. I still can't articulate very well on how I feel.
He used to come over to our house, and my wife and I were just married, and she had no idea who he was. And he'd stay for a week, right? And we would leave and come back, and we left one time, came back, and he was dressed in a full French maid's outfit. And he was like, hello, how you doing? I have done all the dusting in the house. And my wife's going, who is he? And I said, he's the best drummer in the world.
Keith Moon is rock and roll royalty. 1/4 of the original legendary band, The Who. Keith is immensely respected and revered among his peers, loved by fans, and has left his footprint in the world's sand. An amazing drummer and musician and actor, Keith captured the planet with his unique, loud, electrifying drumming style. Keith was a pure ball of energy and destruction. The bigger-than-life rock star was born on August 23, 1946, in Wembley, Middlesex, England. Keith was born to father Charles Moon, a motor mechanic, and his mom, Kathleen Winifred Hopley, also known as Kit Moon. Keith grew up in Wembley and took to drumming in the 1960s, taking drum lessons from contemporary drummer Carlo Little of Screaming Lord Sutch fame. Keith was influenced by Carlo's loud playing style, along with rhythm and blues drummer Hal Blaine. Keith was also influenced by jazz artist Gene Krupa, whose flamboyant style is said to have rubbed off on Keith. Keith also loved and idolized the Beach Boys. Moon joined his first serious band, the Beachcombers, in December 1962. Even then, Moon had a flair for the dramatics. He would act out shooting the lead singer with a starter pistol during the show. 2 years later, at 17, Moon auditioned for The Who and joined the band, replacing Doug Satum. Moon showed up to one of The Who's shows wearing ginger clothes and matching hair. This was right after former drummer departed. A session player filled in for the first half of the show. Moon declared he was much better, played way better than that drummer. He sat in for the second set and completely owned the stage. Moon's bandmates spoke of his unique style of play, and at first found it to be quite unconventional. But that style, Moon's style, will help create an original sound. Moon's addition would help the band go on to great success, becoming one of the most influential, iconic bands in the world. Keith also had ambitions to become an actor and landed roles in various film projects. He would take those theatrics to the stage. Once the legendary Pete Townsend smashed his guitar after he broke it accidentally, Keith would join in, kicking his drum set over in the same show. The fans became enamored. Afterwards, destroying their equipment would become a staple in their shows. Oh, so Keith, fascinated with blowing things up, would start also blowing up his drum set. No stranger to controversy, Keith caused a bit when he met his ex-wife, fashion model Kim Kerrigan. He began a relationship with her in January 1965 when she was 16 years old. After a year of dating, she became pregnant. Much to her parents' dismay, they met with the Moons to find a solution. Keith and Kim married on March 17, 1966. The couple's daughter, Amanda, was born July 12, 1966. While Keith was a fun-loving jokester that made his friends tumble over in laughter, Moon the Loon was troubled and had a dark side. Keith loved being the life of the party, craved attention, and worked overtime to impress his friends. Keith's actions led to a toxic lifestyle. In his early days with The Who, he started to use amphetamines. He spent his earnings made from the band feverishly and quickly. Keith mixed pills and alcohol together frequently, developing into alcoholism and drug dependency. Moon would destroy hotel rooms while on tour with The Who. Keith's pranks sometimes led to destruction, even causing damage to some of his friends' homes and his own. Keith would throw furniture from upper story windows. He would destroy hotel plumbing by setting off cherry bombs, flushing them down the toilet. This would cause the toilets to explode. The prank would escalate as Keith went from cherry bombs to M80 fireworks to sticks of dynamite. Moon gained the reputation of a rock and roll Wildman hellraiser, destroying bathrooms and blowing up toilets. The reaction of the explosions fascinated Moon. The Flint Holiday Inn disaster would have The Who banned from several Holiday Inns due to Moon's destroying his hotel room by starting a food fight. A melee broke out. Fire extinguishers were used. People were thrown into the swimming pool. A piano was demolished, and reportedly, a car took a swim. Keith managed to knock out part of his front tooth. All this occurred on Keith's birthday. He reportedly caused, at the time in 1967, 24,000 euro, which would be equivalent to $206,992.81 in euro in 2025 and $230,992.81 in USD in 2025. Keith's hard partying would begin to take a toll on his health. He began passing out on stage. His play had become affected, and he gained a considerable amount of weight. The drinking was at an all-time high, and the band requested he stop before the tour to promote Who Are You? Keith began to have financial issues due to his part of destroying instruments on stage and trashing hotel rooms. The Who was in debt most of the 1960s. Financial stability was regained for the group after the movie and soundtrack Tommy, but Moon still racked up debt. Neil Boland was Moon's best friend. He also provided driver and bodyguard services to Moon. Keith was a frequent visitor to the bars and pubs where he liked to drink. On this specific occasion, The Who was playing a concert in Hertfordshire, a smaller town than the band normally played. On January 4th, 1970, Moon, his wife, and a group of friends attended the opening of the Red Lion pub in Hatfield. Moon and his entourage ran into some trouble with local skinheads at the pub. Keith was a bit flashy at times. The patrons did not take kindly to his rock and roll, bigger-than-life, flamboyant aura that he brought into the pub. They didn't appreciate him showing off, ordering bourbon while they drank beers. They felt Keith looked down on them. Moon and company, uncomfortable, decided to leave and go to the car. They made it to Keith's Bentley. However, when the group tried to leave, the mob of patrons began to attack the car. Neil exited the vehicle to calm the crowd. Keith was drunk and panicked. Moon jumped behind the wheel. Keep in mind, Keith didn't drive and didn't have a license. He drove off. What he didn't realize was that Boland, his best friend, was knocked down by the crowd and now trapped underneath Moon's Bentley. As Keith pulled off, he ran over Neil. Neil was trapped, being dragged down the street. Neil was killed. Moon was charged with Boland's death, DUI, and driving without a license or insurance. 6 weeks later, after the incident, authorities ruled Neil Boland's death an accident. Moon only pled guilty to the drunk driving charge. A few years later, after the tragic killing of his best friend Neil, his marriage to Kim fell apart. Kim stated Moon was sometimes abusive and violent with her. In 1973, Kim took their daughter Amanda and left. She later filed for divorce in 1975. In 1975, Moon started a relationship with Annette Walter-Lax. Annette stated Moon was a great person when sober. She wanted his Dallas Star neighbor to help have Moon admitted to a clinic to help him kick the alcohol and drugs. After doctors checked Moon's chemical intake the first morning into the clinic, they discovered he had ingested amphetamines, drank a bottle of Courvoisier, had drank a bottle of champagne as well. The doctors determined he was too far gone into his addiction and they couldn't help him.
Did you crack out of that? How long did it take you before you went from being pieces of meat to be sold and merchandised to being in control of your own lives, Keith?
I don't think I have.
You haven't?
No,
What, in control of your own
in
life?
control of my life, no.
You're not? Are you in control of your life at all?
Oh, yeah, certain days.
Certain days.
Yeah.
What do you like the other days?
Quite out of control. I mean, amazingly drunk.
Drunk?
Yeah, mainly. Yeah.
Walter-Lax stated Keith never recovered from the devastating incident that took the life of his best friend, Neil Boland. It haunted him to his last days. Keith, in effort to get clean, moved into the flat that Cass Elliott of the Mamas and the Papas died in. Moon began taking a prescription of hemlaverine, which aids alcohol withdrawal. Keith disliked psychiatric hospitals and wanted to detox at home. Dr. Jeffrey Diamond, not aware of Moon's hard partying, instructed him to only take a pill when there was a desire to drink alcohol. Moon was instructed to not exceed 3 pills per day of the prescribed bottle containing 100 pills. Clomethazole is discouraged from use for unsupervised detoxification due to it being highly addictive. In September 1978, Moon's condition worsened. He was unable to play drums for the required length needed to record and progress to barely being able to hold his drumsticks. After attending a movie premiere with Paul and Linda McCartney, he returned to his flat and passed away. When police arrived, they determined Moon had taken 32 clomethazole pills, with 6 pills digested and 26 undigested in his system. Keith was given a memorial service and was later cremated on September 13th, 1978 at Golders Green Crematorium in London, England, with his ashes being scattered in their gardens of remembrance. Keith Moon's legacy of one of the greatest drummers of all time is solidified, and the biggest personality in rock and roll untouched. Keith Moon was light that will shine forever.